Welcome back to Research. If it's your first time here, my name's Adriana, and this channel is dedicated to sharing all the lessons I've learned and am learning as a new real estate investor. Hey, have you ever heard of condo fraud? Well, it's happened before, and for all the new long-term investors out there, let's take a look at how condos function like a corporation and what you should keep in mind, especially if you don't live in the unit. All condos in Toronto are registered as either MTCC or TSCC and are governed by the Condominium Act, which is provincial legislation. The difference between MTCC and TSCC is age, where MTCC refers to the condos that were registered in the 80s and 90s, and TSCC refers to the condos that were registered from early 2000s and on. So, your condo is either a MTCC or a TSCC with 4 numbers at the end. Before the building is registered, the developer has care and custody of the building, and once the condo is registered as this legal entity, care and custody is transferred to all the unit owners in the building. Okay, well, if your building has over 400 units, how is this going to work? Good question. So similar to how a company would run, you would have a group of unit owners who would make decisions and run the corporation on behalf of all unit owners, known as the board of directors. Now, this may sound like fun, but it is a lot of work because the board is involved in making decisions that affect how the building is run, from choosing the property management company to dealing with repairs and maintenance of major infrastructure. The board is also done on a volunteer basis, so board members don't get paid. Let's take a step back and look at how the board members are selected. They are, in fact, elected. If it's a new building, you as the unit owner would be notified of a turnover meeting where the care and custody of the building is transferred from the developer to the Condo Corporation. It is at this meeting that the first board of directors is elected by all the unit owners. Typically, the candidates for the board of directors would give a speech about their background and why they want to run for the board. What you should keep in mind as a voter is that it would be beneficial to have a variety of different expertise represented on the board. For example, always helpful to have an engineer and a lawyer on the board, and although they wouldn't represent the corporation in a legal or technical capacity, they have the expertise to be able to vet professionals that the corporation has to retain. If your building is a smart one or a high-tech one, definitely valuable to have an IT professional on the board as well. As you vote, keep in mind that it would also be a good idea to have representation from unit owners who live in the building and unit owners who don't live in the building so that both interests are represented. Remember, you as a unit owner have the power to decide who ends up on the board, and it plays a part in keeping the corporation honest and transparent. The number of positions on the board depends on the corporation, and each position is on a defined term, which usually ranges from 1 to 3 years. There are 2 mandatory positions on the board. It's a president and a secretary. The rest of the board members can either be directors or they can elect to choose a vice president or treasurer. The AGM, or Annual General Meeting, is required every year after the books have been closed and audited. It's also a chance for the Board of Directors to report to the rest of the unit owners and for the corporation's auditor to present their findings on the corporation's financials. If there are board positions up for re-election, this is also the meeting where it happens. Remember, you own a little piece of this corporation, so it's really in your best interest to attend if you can and ask questions so that you can be more informed. Before the AGM, you will get a package either in the mail or electronically that has the audited financial statements and a report from the board. Even if you are not familiar with financial statements, I definitely encourage you to go through them because you'll be able to see where money is being spent. If enough people don't pay attention to the financials or are at the AGM, it's easier for people to commit fraud if they're not honest. As a unit owner, you are required to pay maintenance fees, which are determined by the size of your unit. They average between 60 and 80 cents per square foot, so the larger your unit is, the more you'll have to pay. Now, these are fees that you do not get back because they're pooled into the corporation's two main accounts. The first is an operating account, which handles the expenses for running the building day to day. For example, it pays for the property management company, for the cleaners, for utilities, and even that Christmas tree in the lobby that might be up during the holiday season. The second is a reserve fund account, which is long-term budgeting to fund replacement and repair of major infrastructure. For example, you may see a budget for elevator refurbishment in 15 years, or if the mechanical room gets flooded and all the equipment must be replaced, it would come out of this fund. There are other accounts as well, but definitely the two that you should keep an eye out on are the operating and the reserve fund accounts. At a high level, the potential increase in your monthly maintenance fees is determined by any gap that may exist between the revenue that the corporation receives from you and all the other unit owners against all the expenses. Older buildings have a higher per square foot rate because it costs more to maintain, repair, and operate a building over time. For long-term sustainability, a healthy maintenance fee increase is between 1% and 2% every year. I find that people place too much emphasis on having a 0% maintenance fee increase because that really only benefits them individually and not the corporation as a whole in the long term. In my opinion, if you're going to be hanging on to this unit for a long time, it's better to have a marginal increase year over year instead of peaks and valleys because it's a more financially prudent approach. Okay, so these are the Condo Corporation basics that I recommend being more familiar with if you are a long-term unit owner. This is definitely a high-level summary and there's room to deep dive into the topic further. So let me know if that's helpful to you, either in the comment section below or by liking this video. I don't know, somehow, because I can't read your mind. Thank you so much for tuning into research, and I'll see you next time. Take care.